Hi, happy Erev Pesach and Parshat Tzav. It's freezing outside. It's cold. It's rainy. It's miserable. Plus, there were like insane sirens today, like all morning long. You couldn't go half a block without hearing a siren. It was nuts. Oh, so first of all, I wanted to apologize for last week. What I said, I was talking about the war and I was saying I wasn't taking it so seriously. And if there's a siren, you'll see I'm not taking it so seriously. I don't really go too far away from my house or room or whatever. Anyway, it came across and I heard from a few people as very uncaring and unempathetic and not really in tune with what is going on in this country. A lot of people are being very, very inconvenienced and even injured and having panic attacks, and especially people with children. I mean, my own daughter is having a miserable, miserable time, is just really losing her mind. She has 3 kids and she's constantly busy all night long, running to the bomb shelter. It's not even in her house. They leave the house, and so many people in this country have to actually leave their house in the middle of the night, get dressed, walk out of their house. It's nuts. And people are getting injured on their way to the bomb shelters, and disabled people and special needs people. I mean, I can't even imagine. And it is true. That is what is happening. We are going through a war, not to mention the fact that there's another war in Lebanon. And again, soldiers are going to war and leaving their homes and leaving their wives and leaving their children and for Pesach. It's just terrible. It's terrible. No question about it. And if I am the kind of person that just takes challenges very, very, nonchalantly, or I'm not really, I just kind of like hope that things will just get better and pass, and I don't really take too much time to focus on the seriousness of it. That's just me. And I totally did not mean to be incompassionate, how do you say it? But at the same time, of course, I wanted to show how amazing it is that really miraculously a lot of people are somehow being saved. Like missiles are falling on residential areas, and not too many people are being injured because of Hashem's protection, and the miracles that we're facing are still incredible. But I did not mean to sort of ignore the whole fact that we are in a war again, and it's just really, really not fun. It is really, really not fun, and I just really do hope that it'll be over soon and that nobody will be hurt. Unfortunately, we heard somebody was already killed in Lebanon. I don't know why. Why do we have to go in by foot? Why? Like, why don't we just bomb them from the sky? I don't understand. I don't understand. Anyway, having said that, so I just wanted to apologize. I did not mean to sound unfeeling in any way. It's just sort of how I deal with challenges in general in my life. Okay. So, having said all of that, it is Erev Pesach, and I wanted to talk about Pesach, but I also wanted to talk about, interestingly enough, the Parsha. Interestingly enough, is that it connects to what I learned today. I learned with my friends. Thank you so much, Debbie and Rena and Donna, for coming out on Erev Pesach to learn with me. And we were caught in a storm, in a rainpour. We were sitting under an umbrella, like outside this coffee shop, and just sitting and learning. And people thought we were crazy in the middle of all the sirens and in the middle of all the rain, the pouring rain. Anyway, it was fun. It was fun. We got it done. We felt very accomplished, and we moved on. So in the Parsha, I'm going to start with the Parsha, and then I'll go to Pesach and wrap it all up. Call it a day. So the Parsha starts with another sacrifice. Wow, exciting. And this is the sacrifice called Ola. It's an Ola. And in this, it's sort of like the epitome of the sacrifices. It's considered the most important sacrifice. And with this Ola, you don't eat any of the meat from this sacrifice, whatever it is, that animal that you're bringing. It's just the Ola is only to be burnt, completely burnt, and it burns all night long to the fact that to the point where nothing is left. And it's considered, in the Midrash, it's considered the highest form of a sacrifice, the highest olah, the highest offering. And it says like this, why is it called an olah, which sounds like the word olah, which means elevating or going up? Shehi elyona mikol hakorbanot. It is the uppermost offering. It is the highest offering in terms of the level, in terms of the spiritual level that is attained by bringing this offering. So the Netivot Shalom sort of is asking why, what's so special about this? And it's interesting, it seems like it's sort of like the epitome of the perfection of all the offerings. Like you don't get anything out of it. No, the Kohen doesn't eat any of the meat. The person who brings the offering doesn't eat anything. It just goes completely and utterly and perfectly to Hashem. And so it sort of expresses the idea that there sometimes at some points in your life, you are in this elevated mode. You're trying to reach Hashem. You're trying to reach connection to God or spiritual mode. And in that way, you are completely removed when you do reach this point in your life, when you're leveling up in a big way. You are you remove yourself from all other desires for meat. Like you're not going to eat any of this. You get nothing out of it, and you're in this like sacrifice mode. You're in this, what I was talking about last week. If you remember, you're at this point where you're just devoting yourself to Hashem, to a cause that's bigger than you, and you get nothing out of it, or it seems like you're getting nothing out of it at all. You're completely removed from the materialism, from the benefits, from the side things that you get out of it, from desires. You have no desires connected to it. And like you're part of something that is very altruistic and is very spiritual. And in that way, this is an offering that is sort of like expressing the idea that you're elevating yourself. You're completely removing yourself from all your needs in the materialistic world, and you are dedicating yourself to something bigger than you. So that's why it's considered the most elevated of all the sacrifices and all the offerings. And it connects, Netivot Shalom also brings this with regard to Pesach. And he says, it especially comes out in this parsha, in this time, because we know that with Pesach, it's a very crazy situation, time, and everybody also in, like, especially now with this war going on, we're all like, we're trying to make Pesach in all of this, in the middle of all of this. And so we're more distracted than usual. We're more scattered than usual. Like we're so all over the place, and we're trying to create a seder. It's amazing. Like a seder means organized. And yet we're not. We're so disorganized these days, especially because we're trying to do something and all of a sudden there's a siren and all of a sudden you're running here and you're running there and you're trying to wonder where are all your kids. And it's so much. And also people have been stuck with their kids at home. There hasn't been school. So it's the lack of seder, the lack of organization that is so paramount in our minds, and we can't get anything done. And to all of a sudden make Pesach and all of this. But it seems like we have to make Pesach, and it's going to happen no matter what. It's coming up in a few days, in a week. So the Netivot Shalom talks about this idea that how could it be that all throughout the generations, all the time, every single person, even non-religious people, are always focused on Pesach. Like Pesach is one of those mitzvot that even if you keep very few things in Torah, you keep this. You keep getting rid of the chametz. And the chametz is like considered bal yera'eh u bal yimatzeh. It's such a strict mitzvah. It's such a strict prohibition in the Torah to have any chametz around. And you have to get rid of it completely. You can't see it. You can't look at it. You can't derive any enjoyment from it. You get rid of all the crumbs. It's like nothing is so like OCD as Pesach, as chametz. Like we're getting rid of every single last thing and spritzing it and bleaching things. And it's not normal. Like why? And so we know from Kabbalah that the Yetzer Hara is expressed through the chametz, the idea of dough and rising dough and sourdough and like all these things that rise and the yeast and all the things that make chametz is what expresses the sitra achra, the other side, the evil, the desires, the Yetzer Hara. is expressed through the dough and the blowing up things out of proportion and the gaiva, the arrogance, and all these things are expressed. The Yetzer Hara is basically exemplified through chametz. So what is the deal? So if we understand, at one point we have to get rid of the Yetzer Hara. So that makes sense. So let's get rid of it all the time. Like, why do we even have this concept? If we have the concept that we're supposed to stay away from chametz or get rid of chametz, and chametz is expressing the Yetzer Hara, shouldn't we always try to get rid of chametz? Like, shouldn't we always maybe stay away from chametz or gluten? Maybe gluten should be non-kosher, right? Because it's expressing the Yetzer Hara. So says Netivat Shalom, and especially like on like serious spiritual holidays, maybe you would get rid of the chametz also maybe on Rosh Hashanah when it's a good day to remove yourself from all the Yetzer Hara. Like on Rosh Hashanah, you're doing tshuva and everything. So says Netivat Shalom that just like when a convert converts, when a non-Jewish person converts, you have a certain elevated degree of like, he has to do so many things to become a Jewish person. And why is that? Like, he has to go through a circumcision if he's a male. Tevilah, you have to go into the mikvah, and you have to keep all 613 mitzvot, or you have to accept upon yourself all the 613 mitzvot. And that is insane. That's a lot, right? Whereas if you're a Jewish person already, everybody knows you're not going to do all the 613 mitzvot, or you're not going to commit to it. Like, we know you're going to do some and you're going to try and do the others, but like, hey, you can't commit to everything. And we know, and you're still going to be a Jew. It's going to be okay. So why, when you're converting, do you have to do all or nothing? It's sort of like a very perfectionist attitude that we're inculcating, and where it's not all or nothing. Like, you can try as much as you can and gamarnu, So the reason is, says Netivat Shalom, is because when you are about to leave or to transform yourself from a very, very low level where you're very inculcated into the Yetzer Hara, like if you are a non-Jew and you are now becoming a Jew, you're taking on a whole new soul, okay? That is a time when you're kind of like leaving the Yetzer Hara, the domain of the Yetzer Hara, and he's going to do everything in his power to hold on to you and to try and keep you back. As we know from Amalek, they were always attacking the Jewish people right before they were going to go into an elevated level, like right before they accepted the Torah, right before they were going into Israel. There's all these times when the Jewish people are about to become very, very elevated, and as well as when they left Egypt, because when they left Egypt, they were leaving the control of the Yetzer Hara. It was the worst possible spiritual state that they were ever in. And they were about to become the nation of the Jewish people, Hashem's children. You can't imagine a higher level that they were going to attain from such a low level. And at that point, the Yetzer Hara was going to hold on to them to the extent that they weren't going to be allowed to leave. It was almost like they were like grabbing them. It was like some kind of like bacteria that was going to hold them back. So we know that sometimes when you're fighting a bacteria that's already an infection, you need an extra high dose, sometimes even IV dose of antibiotics, because it's like, if you just give a little job of antibiotics, it's just going to make the bacteria stronger and hold on to you more, right? So you need a major dose of antibiotics to get rid of that infection, to get rid of that bacteria. And then, after that major dose, you can then, calm down a little bit. So too, when the Jewish people left Egypt, they had this Pesach, they had this skipping over of all the different levels. Like, it's not like they just slowly but surely transferred themselves from Mitzrayim outside to, this level of, now we're going to slowly work on ourselves and become Jewish people slowly but surely. No. Hashem took them out, b'chipazon, fast. There was no time for the dough to rise. That means there was no Yetzer Hara. We are giving them a huge dose of antibiotics, such a harsh, like not a harsh, but like such an intense light, such an intense like love of Hashem, that he just kind of like showered them with love to the point where the Yetzer Hara was completely and utterly demolished. And that's why There was no time for the dough to rise. There was a skipping over of all the levels of growth. And so too, the Jewish people were all becoming converts at that time. They were going from a place of such the depths of depravity when they were in Egypt, and they were so like connected to the Egyptian mentality, and they were slaves, and it was so horrific, to becoming the nation of Hashem, the children of Hashem, such a close connection to Hashem. And it was such a leveling up that happened all of a sudden at once, that it had to be perfect. And it had to be like such a light that got rid of the Yetzer Hara completely and utterly. And after that point, when we're converts already, after that, then you can start going at your own little level, and you can go back to eating chametz, eating bread, where you have that connection to the Yetzer Hara, but then you can be mindful about your eating, you can be spiritual about it. In general, food is that which connects to the Yetzer Hara. It's associated with the Yetzer Hara, but you can always contain it. You can always control it. You can work with it. Of course, we're not always supposed to be away from bread or away from meat or away from food. There's always going to be that time when we bring it back into our lives. But at this time, on Pesach, that 1 week in our lives, which we have to prepare for a lot, this whole month really, or the couple of weeks beforehand, is the one time where we are all as a nation entering into that energy again of going from non-Jews to Jews, or going from people who were very entrenched in the tuma, the non-purity of Mitzrayim, and becoming so close to Hashem. We're becoming the beloved children of Hashem. So I might have a chance again to speak before Leil HaSeder, but just in case I don't, I would just tell you that this is the night that on that Leil HaSeder where we actually become converts again as a nation. We become so close to Hashem from a place that we were not at all close to Him. We didn't even know what it was to be a nation, to be an independent person. We didn't even know what it was like to be spiritual at all. We were so enslaved, so entrenched in the Egyptian culture. So on this night and on this whole full week, we are in the process of conversion. So we have to be perfect. We have to remove ourselves entirely from the bacteria, from that Yetzer Hara. Afterwards, we can let it back in again slowly. We can be in control of it after we've already eradicated all the very, very bad bacteria. Then you can actually let it in back again into your life, because that's what life is. Life is about a Yetzer Hara and constant struggle and constant maneuvering and trying to control it and being mindful and being spiritual and elevating the materialism. Okay? But on Pesach itself is that major elevation mode, and it's connected very much to the Olah, to that sacrifice where we are completely and entirely removing ourselves from the materialism for that one little moment of elevation, of time when we are completely and utterly altruistically connecting to Hashem and sacrificing all the materialism, or getting rid of, eradicating completely, no enjoyment, no seeing it, no smelling it, nothing, not taking any, deriving any enjoyment from it, from that chametz, for this 1 week of conversion. And once we are Am Yisrael, then we can get away with it already. Afterwards, we go back to the 49 days of Sfirat HaOmer, where we can go the regular, step by step and working on ourselves and so on and so forth. Okay, have a good Pesach, everybody, and a good Shabbos.